wonder if I can. So while I'm looking at the stupid screen here, does anybody have any questions or things they want me to deal with? No? Oh, cool. Because if you do, just you can always use the chat to let me know. Oh, sorry, I have to do something here. I just heard myself on YouTube talking to myself. Okay, let's quit this. Okay, so if there are no issues or questions, sorry, I'm just trying to zoom my camera out. I think what I've been looking at, I've been looking at a lot of stuff online, and there's so much good material, and people are taking lessons with lots of people. There's a lot of good stuff, Open Studio, and you know, just great things on YouTube and everything, and like people like Julian taking lessons with one of my former students. That's cool. I like that, man. And you know, some of you have been to my house for lessons or whatever, or online. So because I'm not doing this every week and I don't have a curriculum and everybody's different here, I thought I would just talk about a couple of things that I don't think many people talk about jazz piano or jazz playing in general, so that it's out of the way and you could consider it as another way of looking at things. So if that's what I'm going to do. So, and some of you may have heard this spiel before, but I've never put it on YouTube or anything, so you wouldn't have seen it there. So it's this very simple concept. And the other thing that's great, I think that's cool about what I'm going to talk about, is I will put the link in the chat, a link to my written notes on this subject. It's on my jazzpiano.ca page. It's called Jazz Phrasing. And I'll put the link here. In fact, I'll do it right now before I forget. So just give me a second here. Jazz Phrasing. Jazz piano. And what's cool about this thing, and I won't get into this, there it is. When you look at it, it's pretty involved. Here it comes. I'm just going to paste it in the chat. Make sure you copy anything that's in the chat you want to keep. You need to copy it now before the class ends, because once the Zoom's over, you lose it. So any links or anything like that, grab it, put it on your desktop, get it somehow onto your computer, whatever. So that is a little thing. I actually took the time to write and type out what I'm going to talk about today. So it's almost like notes. And the other thing that's really I dig about that document is it's hyperlinked. The links online to YouTube videos where it takes you to what I'm talking about. So look at this as a teaser for you to go check this document out, Jazz Phrasing. And so I'll just launch in and I'll try and demonstrate some of this stuff too. So one of the things that we get into with jazz piano and all this is it's often taught with this concept of like what scale goes with what chord, and how do I negotiate chord changes, and how do I improvise, and there's so much good information there, and that's a great way to think about things. But there's something else going on that is a little less easy to teach. I mean, it's pretty easy to say, okay, here we are, you know, here's a 2-5-1 in F. And say, you know what, we should arpeggiate the G minor chord. And then play a bebop scale. You know, this kind of thing. And there are all kinds of good ways to talk about that, and it's pretty easy because it's all very prescribed. But so let's assume that you're doing that already, because why wouldn't you be working on that? I don't have to. That's like hitting a dead cat already. Like everybody knows, it's not. It's, if you're going to play. I mean, I'll just show you an exercise that you might consider for a 2-5-1 in C. So, here we go. Let me turn the metronome on here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is a Charleston. Now, that's a 4-bar comping figure. That's a downbeat Charleston, a downbeat Charleston, followed by an upbeat Charleston after one, and a down. Now, my goal is to play a bebop scale from G to G, 2 octaves, on every beat of the first bar against that same rhythm. So what I'm doing now is talking about how do you get independence of the hands. So I'm going to try it, see if I screw it up. We'll see what happens. Now on 2. Now on 3. On 4. 1, 2, 3. And on 1, 2, 3. Isn't that crazy? That's hard. Now, I actually screwed the last one up. If you didn't notice, I played a Charleston on bar 3 on beat 1. But you didn't care. You didn't really, probably most of you didn't notice. I just got confused. But the thing that I'm talking about is getting a groove going. The other thing is, why do we always think we have to play these things in the same place? So that is what I'm talking about, is rhythm and phrasing. So that's like a proscribed or prescribed way to practice 2 things at once. Charleston's, boom, in the left hand, and a bebop scale in the right hand. Now you could like be endless with this stuff and say, I'm going to play this, an arpeggio of D minor 7 into its 3rd, and then down from the G7 scale, G to G. That's my lick. But if I can't do it like this, or on beat 2, or on, or on beat 3, 1, 2. As long as we're talking about the bebop scale, this is one of my favorite things. This is so cool. Let's just talk about this for a minute. This is a puzzle. Some of you may have been hip to this, but if you know the answer from me, don't answer. If you could figure it out, answer away. So just imagine you wrote down the bebop scale on a piece of paper. Do I have a piece of paper? Hang on a second. Give me a sec. Okay. This is going to be a little weird. I'm going to have to hold it up to the camera. There's a reason I'm doing this way. It's crazy, but there we go. I'm going to write G7 bebop scale. B, A, G. Okay, I'm coming over to just see if you can see this. Oops, hang on a second. There it is. Look at that. See,
Mark, you're off mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Now you're far away, but we can hear.
There we go. This is a problem. I should get a lavalier mic so it follows me around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Notice what I did. I did not use the staff. I just wrote the names of the notes. So that's ba 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 da ba do ba do ba da. Right? But so here's the question, the puzzle. See if anybody can figure this out. Can you play this, those notes in the same order? Okay, but listen carefully. Same order on the piano, in the same rhythm, eighth note starting on beat 1, and make a different melody. That's the puzzle. It's a riddle. So first, the first question is is it possible to play the same notes? Listen carefully to what I'm saying, the words I'm using, the same notes in the same order, and make a new melody in the same rhythm. You can't change the rhythm.
You change the octave.
Show me. I mean, yeah. So or tell me because I can demonstrate it.
Yeah, you better demonstrate. I'm rusty.
But did we talk about this?
We just started to talk about.
Ah, yeah, okay.
I
You knew the
cheated.
answer. That you cheated.
Yeah.
You had. This is one of my favorite things. So, of course, Arna got it. I said notes, not pitches. So here's the thing: if you think bebop scales are boring, then you just haven't been using your imagination. Here it is. Oh God, I'm so bored with that. But have you thought of this? Or have those are exactly the same notes in the same order. Not the same pitches though. So if you're not using your imagination when you're practicing, you're leaving a lot of stuff on the table. Why couldn't you have done this? Check it out. I mean, that's pretty tricky to play, but why couldn't you do it? Sorry. I mean, obviously, a leap up on a downbeat, on an upbeat, is the best sound for swinging, but. Those are all the same notes in the same order. And this is the kind of thing that just makes me crazy because if a teacher doesn't point this out, they're not really doing you any favors. This is really cool. Like, what the hell happened there? So if you think, it's like you just haven't, there's learning the stuff and then there's like, okay, what can I do with this? Like, that's worth a lot of hours of practicing and screwing around with things. That's really cool. I mean, and you don't have to leap on an upbeat either. You could have done it like this. Let's see if I can do this. I'm not used to it, but let's see if I can do it. Yes. 1 and 2 and 3 and... Yes. Okay, I got it. That's cool because you land on B4. It's really neat. Anyway, but what I wanted to get to is that this is all kind of given as a very pedagogical, easy thing to teach. This is notes on chords and, play a diminished arpeggio, play a scale. The thing I want to talk about today assumes that you've spent a little time playing around with that kind of thing. So let me get into it. I have this basic theory of rhythm and phrasing that comes from the idea of that jazz time is different than other kinds of time. And I can tell you what happened was when I was a student at York and I was starting to learn this music, and I was already 18, 19. I had no idea. I mean, I had heard jazz. I had records and stuff, but I didn't understand it at all. And I started noticing, because I was in workshops playing, that whenever I felt that I played something comfortable, it sounded bad. So like it just felt good, and I thought, but it sounds so lame. So I realized something that, if you're thinking about this, you'd go, well, why don't you just try playing something really awkward and see how that sounds? It's just what I did out of desperation. And I started noticing that when I did that, like flailing around, trying different things, that started to sound more rhythmically like jazz music. And I thought, well, that's very weird, but, it seems to have some kind of result. I didn't know how to codify it or anything. But I remember lying in bed one night trying to go to sleep, and I was doing this. I'm going to change my camera. So I'm going to practice this. So here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. So I'm doing 3 against 2. I'm left-handed dominant. So that's my beat is in my left side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Bum, bum, bum. So what does that mean? On paper, it's a quarter note triplet, starts on 1, lands on 3. It's that I found very easy. I thought, well, that must mean it sounds stupid, because my previous theory of my playing was anything that's easy can't be right. So I started, I'm going to try and do it on, why do I have to play quarter note triplets that start on 1 all the time? Why can't they start on 2? And I tried it. And guess what? No way. I was so confused. I could not do it. And then I worked on it, and I could do it. It just sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. Actually, you know what? I'll do it better. If I put the metronome on, 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3. One. Here's the downbeat of 1. Now, quarter note triplets that start on 2 and land on 4. Swing. Why? Because the ride cymbal is part of that figure. Now, all of that is written down on this document. Well, I don't want to even get paper out. Just think about it for a minute. So just that taught me something, and I started hearing it all over the place. So there are a lot of ways to do this on the piano. If you want, I can show you how you can use the piano to help you learn this figure. This is really neat. So I'm going to go to the piano, and the reason I'm starting with this is actually one of the more difficult things about that page I sent you. Okay, so it's weird. I'm starting at the end of the whole document, like this, and you see it there. It says reverse quarter note. See that? That's what we're doing there. But you'd have to open the document up to see it. You're welcome to do that, but just hang in there because you can refer back to this video, and that might help. But let me just show you how to use the piano. If you can't play quarter note triplets on 2, I can show you how to use the piano to do it. It actually helps if you're with somebody. Okay. And this is all very mechanical. When you do rhythm, you need to be very, very clear, like a machine. So there's my 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3. There's all quarter notes there. Actually, I should slow it down. Okay. I mean, I could put the metronome on a chord all. Now that I have 2 notes in the bar, like a duple, I can put this on quarter notes, and you'll hear the 1 and 3. Now I subdivided 3. Well, that's obvious. I'm just going E down to C. Oh, hang on a second. I'm going E down to C, so naturally you're going to get the E on every downbeat. So that's not quarter note triplets, but if I did this, it would be. Now watch my thumb. I just slid off the piano. And keep my fingers moving. I have quarter note triplets E on beat 1 and 3. Can't miss as long as I do it. Or somebody could come in and dampen the damper, the D, and you won't hear it. Or you could simply just play it lighter and lighter. I think sliding off is better because it's a placeholder. So quarter note triplets are simply eighth note triplets grouped in 2s, right? That's the math. 6 things could be 3 groups of 2, or 2 groups of 3. That's it. So quarter note triplets are 3 groups of 2. So you just or you could do it like this. You could do it like this. 1 2 1 2 1 2. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. But it's easier to use your physicality. Well, obviously, if that's quarter note triplets that land on 1 and 3 on the E, all you have to do is start on a D instead. And it'll flip it upside down. So, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to start with my thumb on D. Here we go. So let's say I had a bebop line, a little blues line that went like this. Very, like, I mean, it's very, I don't know what it is, what the word I'm looking for. Listen to this. Now listen to the quarter note. Doesn't that sound like a real guy playing jazz all time all of a sudden? It does to me. It's a very important thing to look at for medium and medium slow tempos. And I can even point you on that document where I talk about this. There are links to musical examples. Bobby Timmons playing Like Someone in Love. It's all there. So check it out. So now I won't belabor this because there's no point in going down and going on and on about it. But then the next step, after realizing that when I turned this thing upside down, it started feeling more like a jazz guy. I started thinking, okay, so that means my concept of time has been wrong for jazz music. So I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to start thinking, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to think that time starts with 4. In other words, 1 is a consequence of 4, and 3 is a consequence of 2. So if I count a ballad in like Julian, you played Body and Soul. So I'm going to just pretend I'm playing with a band, okay? And check this out. This is so psychologically weird, but it really does work. So there's a band there. I'm going to play the melody, and there's a trio, like bass and drums, and me. Okay, here I go. Yep, here I go. I'm going to count them in, the imaginary group. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But this is what feels better. 4, 1, 2, good. All of a sudden, my whole attitude's different to playing the piano. Like I just come at it differently. If it's really slow, I go 2, 3, 4, and everybody feels like not static, but you're going somewhere. Like this is not talked about, people. This is why I'm doing this today, because this is like really a different thing, and it's very kind of like nebulous, and it seems strange, but your attitude to the beat can turn your playing around. So, like just the idea of going 1, 2, 3, 4 sets you up for being very boxy and square. Whereas this 4, 1, 2, 3. See where I'm starting at the top. It's a big circle. And also I think of it on a couple of other ways to think about time one is that think of it like if you were going to skip rope, somebody's got the rope going and you're going to jump in. Well, that thing's going before you start. Who stands when somebody's skipping rope? Who stands there and then the rope starts? Is that the way you start skipping rope? I don't think so. I never skipped rope. So my imagination watching kids play skipping rope is the rope's going and then you jump in. Well, if you don't have the rope going, which means 4, 1, then you're going to just trip over the damn thing.
Mark,
Yeah.
can you do that one more time, counting yourself in?
Yeah, sure. So I'll do it
because obviously, depending on the song,
yeah,
when the first note comes in, it's different. But
yeah,
for
See,
body and soul, you come on the one end.
Yeah, but you see what happened because I counted the wrong way. I mean, the 4 first, it made me want to play a pickup B flat 7 flat 9 chord. Like it already makes me want to play something to get me into the groove.
Right.
So
how do you
I'm
decide when you start on 4 or when you start on 2?
Okay, I'll just
count.
play around with it. Here I go. So,
Yeah.
So I could. I'll leave the metronome out of it. So here I go. 2, 3, 4. That's without anything. That's starting on 2. Let's say I was playing a little faster. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 1, 2. I wouldn't play this tune this fast. So let's say I was playing I Love You or something. Okay. 4, 1, 2, 3. Same thing. I mean, I could just say 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'd start, everybody would come in. But there's something that feels different. So depending, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I Love You starts on the 4 though.
Yeah, right. That's a bad example.
Yeah.
4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yeah, at medium tempos, I wouldn't do it so much. At slow ballads, I would do it. If you on it, to be honest about it, because there's something about this forward movement, and I've seen, and guys that like old guys that play. Like I played with, they would grunt a tempo at you, and you'd know they meant to start with 4. It's just funny. But you'd have counts like this for medium. Let's say it's.
Mark, I have a question.
Yes.
Whether it's in a group that you've played with that knows your style, or you may refer me to, one of the videos. If your drummer is playing 4/4 time, do you ever intentionally do, switch into triplets and vice versa? Do you play off each other, or and like take cues? You know what I'm saying? So you're not
totally.
You're not stepping on his toes. You're doing the opposite of what something different than he's doing, and vice versa.
Totally. And if you're lucky, you finish each other's figures, or one gives you another. I mean, this brings up an amazing subject of that was some study is worth looking at, which is the Red Garland, Philly Joe Jones recordings on milestones, and they're comping, and I could do a whole thing on that, which is worth checking out. Like, just get the recording. Milestones is a record. The track, there are 2 tracks that you need to check out. They're both blues, 2 bass hit, and ba-doodle-doo-day, straight no chaser. And focus on only one thing especially through John Coltrane solos. Do not listen to the saxophone. Listen to what's going on with Philly Joe Jones and Red Garland, and then maybe we'll talk again. Like rather than me getting into it, because that would be another hour of that. So
Mark, where are those 2 tunes again? I'm sorry to interrupt.
yes, Straight No Chaser
Okay.
and 2 bass hit.
Okay.
And specifically, there are spots where you hear proscribed comping figures between Philly Joe and Red Garland. They're very subtle. But if you don't know them and know what's going on there, you're out of the hip loop. I can tell you a story about this that's really funny. I was playing at Prince Edward County Jazz Festival after-hour session, and that year the guest artists from New York were like Ellis Marcellus, Delph, and his son Jason, who was just a kid. He's a trombone player. No, he's the drummer. And, I'm playing a Fender Rhodes, and I'm an old guy, and he's a young, hip guy from New Orleans. And there's an attitude, a good swagger going on with these guys. I mean, they're the Marcelluses, I mean, why wouldn't there be? Anyway, we're playing a blues, and I'll never forget it. I'm going, in my mind, I'm saying, I'm going to see if this guy really knows his stuff. So I start doing the comping figures that I'm talking about. And he was all over it. And all of a sudden, instead of being a kind of standoffish young whippersnapper, he's smiling because he knows that I know. And we have this thing together now. And all of that, whatever baggage was there, whether it may have been just my imagination, but it doesn't matter. It was gone because he knew and I knew that we both thought this was really cool stuff. And he studied it.
So do you have a philosophy of, well, not always, but try to play what everyone else is not playing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, it's really hard to generalize. I think listening, one of my favorite drummers, a guy named Joe Benz, he said, listen and react. So if I was to, I could actually proceed with the rest of what I was going to talk about, and that might actually help answer your question, Jeff. It's kind of interesting because what ends up happening with this phrasing concept is a lot of things get taken care of, like answering what you asked as a result of an attitude. So let's go forward and see if it helps answer the question. So let's say that I want to play a blues in F, and I think that I should think about this concept. Well, what would you call this crazy concept? Well, I call it even goes to odd. So if you're talking about quarter notes, 4 goes to 1. Okay, got this? It's simple. 2 goes to 3. 1 doesn't start anything, no matter what you think. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, swings. So that's easy. If you go down into the level of eighth notes, this is the model, and I don't want to write it down. It'll take too long, but I'm going to say it. So here I go. I'm going to sing. Whoops. I'm going to put on the metronome. And I'm going to say what I would write on the page. Do ba do ba do ba do bop. do ba do ba do ba do ba, which are rolled eighth notes, supposedly swung 2/3, 1/3. That's my model, for whatever else. And that would be the way some people teach this. I think that's not a good idea, but I'm going to say it again. Do ba do ba do ba do ba, because it's starting with the 1. So I need to think, wait a minute, eighth notes have even and odd numbers too. Why do I have to start with 1, 1, 2, 3, but 1, if I'm counting eighths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No. And that would be a do, ba, do, ba, do, ba, do. That's silly. Why don't I start like this? Bo, 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 bo. Ba, boo, ba, da, boo, 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 ba, boo, 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 ba, ba. So my eighth notes are starting with the even numbered eighths. Instead of the model being do, ba, do, it should be ba-oo, bop. As soon as you do that, it sounds like a different person. Ba-oo, bop. Bop, bop, ba-ya-do. It sounds like Dizzy Gillespie, scat singing. Boo, bop, boo, bop, ba-oo, bop. 3. Bop, boo, bop. Bop, boo, boo, bop. Bop, boo, boo, bop. My phrasing is way better if I think 8, 8, 1. 8, 1, 2. 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba-do-do-do, bop. Boo, bop. I mean, like if I don't think like that, I'm not going to swing on the piano. Right off the bat, on the instrument, it starts meaning your weight of your arm starts going on the upbeats. I'll try and go over to the piano now, see if I can. Because this is all very, intellectual. That was a quarter note triplet. Here's a great example, Duke Ellington. So what's this line all about? Like it's the example of what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's perfect. The notes are wrong notes on the upbeats. The accenting, you don't even have to accent it to get it to swing. You just have to play it. Let me slow it down. I'm going to put the tempo up to 84 and play it as quarter notes. 1, 2, take a walk, 1. You see what happens? I can pull back. That was all wrong, my notes, except the groove was still there. So I fooled you for a second there. I mean, that's really hard to play that tempo and not be going like this. Double timing. It's way harder to blow. Whoops. There we go. I found it. Neat, eh? If you start chromatically on F, you can go down to B flat against the melody in that tune. Makes no sense, but it sounds kind of neat. A lot of bass players like that. But I digress. Okay, so the phrasing thing. So there I am talking about two concepts. Quarter notes 4-1 and eighth notes 4-1. Well, if you're using your head, you'll go, wait a minute, Mark, you could go up through the zone. So one of the books that I used to love, I'm a bit of a science geek. So it was Chaos, a New Theory by a guy named James Gleick. Anybody know that book, Chaos? It was about 25, 30 years ago. This guy wrote a thing about fractal geometry and Mandelbrot series and all these kind of mathematical models. It turns out that, you know, the book put out this idea that if a butterfly flaps its wings in California, there's going to be a monsoon a day earlier in India, because everything affects everything else, and you never know enough about initial conditions. The other thing is that fractal geometry, everything is the same at all levels of scale. So if I take a picture of a bunch of rocks, you don't know if they're boulders or stones unless I put my hand in the picture. There's nothing to tell you. They all look kind of the same. Or if you look at a tributary of the Mississippi Delta and compare it to an arterial system or roads or the way your blood vessels branch or a tree, they all look the same. It's a basic model. Simple things, you know, branching is branching. It all looks kind of the same on any level of scale. This happens in the universe, you know, all kinds of things. So our scale, well, this is scalable. 4 goes to 1, even goes to odd in scalable ways. So what does that mean? It means a quarter notes, eighth notes. But what about bars? Why can't I play 12-bar blues and say, you know what? Why do I have to start a 12-bar blues playing on bar 1? Why can't I practice bar 4 to 5 and bar 8 to 9 and bar 12 to 1? Okay, so that would mean you could play faster, and that's your level of scale now. The body of the tune, the phrasing of your solo. And so it's not about what you're playing, it's where you're playing. This is the stuff that people don't talk about. This is why I'm doing this today, because it's just like gold. So let me see if I can do this demo for you. I'm gonna try and do this. So I gotta. Here's my exercise. So imagine, like, if you want to do this, write out 12 bars on the page, like 4, 4, and 4, 3 lines, you know, and put a number the bars. You know, just have it in front of you. And then look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a couple of choruses where I'm playing nothing in the first 3 bars. And then I'm going to make sure I play bar 4 and land in bar 5 somewhere. I might even dribble along a little further if I get inspired. But my key is I'm going 4 to 5, second line to the third line, that's 8 to 9, and 12 to 1. And that's one exercise. I just will do it until I get tired of it. Then I'll leave some space. And guess what I have to do next? Bar 2 to 3. And what else? 6 to 7. And 10 to 11. Okay, so you got to understand what's going on here. It's not my bebop licks that are driving the decision here. I'll be playing language that I've practiced, but the decision about where to play is driving the solo. The killer thing is, you know what's in my head because I just told you. But nobody else who would be dropping in right now once I start would have any idea. So you have to also have that in your head, like, see if I do it, see if I pull it off, if I can make this happen, and then see what is the result. Like, how does it feel to you? Does it feel like natural playing or weird? Or anyway, I'll try and do my best. So this is where the rubber hits the road, man. There are other benefits to this, which I'll get into if I pull it off. There we go.
Would you please get your camera to be on you again?
Sorry, hang on a second.
Sorry about that.
I just got to stop. Sorry, Arna?
I was just saying you're off camera in your
Oh,
if you want to have your following you. I thought maybe.
yeah, thanks. I need these because I can't keep up my eyes on everything here.
Okay. No
The
problem.
robot, when I gesture on camera, it does things to the camera. So if I
Yeah.
do this or whatever, it'll turn it off and it won't follow me anymore. Thanks for reminding me. So what I got to do now is the tempo needs to be faster. So you can imagine how useful this might be if you're playing something really fast like Cherokee. But this is 115. I'm going to make it, I don't know. Let's see how this feels before 176. Let's see. Tell me if this is balanced. I'm just going to put it on and turn it up. How's it balance?
It's okay.
You
We
can
can
hear the.
You can hear your piano. It's a little clangy with the back music, but
You think it's the back? You think the background's too loud?
a little bit, just
Yeah,
a
okay,
teeny
I'll
bit.
just turn it down a bit. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, so what am I going to do first? I have to listen to the time. So I'm going to actually just like put this box on and you'll know when I start improvising the way I said. It's hard for me to talk and play at the same time. So just, here I go. Oops. Here we go. See how loose that sounds? Now, 2. Now bar 6. Bar 10. Bar 6. Bar 10. Now just play. I'm just playing now. Okay, I'll stop there. So oddly enough, when I was playing, in my opinion, from beat 4, a bar 4 to 5 and all that demo, it doesn't sound like I'm playing it doesn't sound like I'm not playing enough. Like that's one of the things that's like I was going to say there are a lot of benefits to this. You know what the biggest benefit is? You stop playing sometimes. And shut up.
Mark, it almost sounds like you're comping for a drum solo.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Like the right hand. I mean, Like it's a left. See, the left hand's playing, but the right. You mean comping? Like the lines are comping, or the left hand?
Yeah, you know how some guys when they comp for a drum
Yeah.
solo,
Mhm.
they'll stop playing.
Yes.
It kind of feels like that.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm trying to imagine a rhythm section, even though
Yeah.
I got a robot here playing. I want to treat them with the idea that I'm listening to them. Now, so one of the other things that God, when I used to teach at school at York University, one of the issues that would happen, and it happened to me, so everything that I would notice in students, I knew from myself because I did every mistake and every dumb thing you could do. So I was very attuned to hearing it in other people. And I still hear these things in me. It drives me crazy. But I know what it is, and I could fix it if I just calm down. And one of the things was this. You'd have a group playing, and the soloist would start playing lines, and they would make an error of rhythm every eighth note, like tiny errors. By the time they got 10 or 20 notes out, they'd lost a beat. Like they didn't know where the hell the time was because their errors compounded. All right. So this is an interesting thing because a lot of people and great players that I know and great teachers would say, learn how to play long lines. And that's what I agree with that. But the other problem with that is our brain shuts off sometimes to listening outside of what we are doing. So we actually have to practice listening while we're playing. But that's hard to do because you're so involved with your technical whatever and your note choices and your hands and are they working or whatever you're playing that your ear goes off and you start hearing only yourself. So what I suggest also is practicing listening. And sometimes you actually have to stop playing to listen. Like you can't play through. So another way to look at this is if I was going to say, what does Red Garland sound like to me? I think Red Garland sounds like every note's perfect, like in rhythm. Like it never seems like a note's out of place. I mean, Oscar's like that, but Red Garland feels like that. And when you listen to his lines suddenly end, and I want you to picture this image. You're sitting at the piano, and you're going along, and you're playing, and you're in a groove, and all your notes have been landing like beautifully, like booba, swinging along, and your left hand's accurate, and you're going along, and the very next note you're going to play, you sense it's going to be rushed or out of time. And if you had the ability to turn the piano keys into a red hot iron instantaneously, you would not touch that next note. You would stop because it would hurt to play that one bad note at the end of your line. And you would end your line abruptly to fix the error that you won't make. Now that is the way hot time sounds to me. I mean it, the metaphor is literal in a way. The piano becomes hot. When you're grooving like this, you want to feel this heat. And when you hear great players that swing like that, that's what I think. I don't think they're thinking that. That's just the way I imagine it. And so if I can play, that's a very intense feeling. And part of it is this feeling of space. So when I was teaching these kids and they would play long lines and get off the rails, I would fool them. First of all, let's say it was, a student, George, the piano player, he's having a problem with this. Everybody else is fine, whatever. The first thing I would do is, okay, guys, let's try something. And I wouldn't talk about George at all. I'd just say, okay, here we go. We're going to play a blues, whatever. We're going to play a tune. Let's go. Everybody solo. But there's one thing you got to do one thing you have to construct your solo this way. This is really hard. I'll just tell you what it is. You simply say, whatever note I land on, meaning upbeat or downbeat, the next line has to start with the opposite. Right? So if you go boo ba doo ba dop, you have to start on an upbeat later on. Bo ba doo ba doo bop, you got to start on a downbeat. Well, all of this is complete misdirection and makes the students crazy because they're so busy worrying about what the end of their line was, and then thinking, well, you know what else they're doing? They're leaving a ton of space. And not only that, every rest is an odd number of eighth notes, if you do the math. And I learned this from a Tommy Flanagan transcription I did. I noticed Tommy Flanagan's solo, every rest, it was 2.5 beats, 1.5 beats, 3 beats plus an eighth rest. I couldn't believe it. It would be an eighth rest followed by 2 beats. I went, what the hell's going on with this solo? It's like that rests have a plan. Well, you know what that indicates? Really good phrasing. That's interesting. Those spaces outline Charleston figures. Bopped up. His spaces swung. The end and the beginnings and endings, the endings and the beginnings of his next line were unpredictable. And I just thought, this is like gold. In the meantime, when you tell the whole class to do this, you know what? Everybody plays with more space and everything swings more because they have to listen. Not only that, it's really interesting because if you said, how do you realize that every line you started with is starting to start on downbeats. It means that every line you ended was ending on upbeats. Like that's one of the things that happens if you try and do this. It's really, I mean, I wouldn't recommend playing like this. This is just something to practice. So the idea of playing even to odd.
So
if I
Mark,
were-
in
Yes.
that example, if the drummer is not doing what, or is doing something different, then you got to create your own rhythm so that you could do that, to do
Yeah,
exactly
but
what you're
it
saying.
doesn't matter as long as the time is good.
Okay.
Like the drummer doesn't. You don't have to be connecting on this stuff. Like that's weird. That like if you're that predictable, it's not necessarily a great thing. On the other hand, one of the other things that it's so interesting because there's place for you to be very divergent in a rhythm section, and also very together. So, I mean, it's very hard to talk about interaction at this kind of a thing because it's so, like, I'm just talking about keeping your shit together, your attitude. And like, for me, like just simply having the ability to phrase the way I want to, like, will calm me down and get me playing better. And then everything happens with the band, whatever. You can't be analyzing this stuff, and nobody's listening that way. On the other hand, let's say I was playing a blues, another exercise as a soloist that you could do, especially with a blues form, is practice soloing, and this has nothing to do with the phrasing thing anymore, on another subject. But imagine playing a solo that's so clear rhythmically that you could repeat it. So what do blueses do? I mean, they usually go, my baby went and left me, but it's something it's a riff. So listen, the riffs are killer for learning about jazz music. So if it was me, I think a good way into feeling rhythmic is think about how could you play a solo that's so clear and riff based that you could teach it to a big band in 3 choruses. That's how the Basie band worked. Guys would pick up on the riff and the whole band would, and then they'd harmonize it, and the next thing you know, there's an arrangement and there's nothing written down. I mean, so riffs can be your friend, especially practicing. So now that I talked about that, I have to do it. Now, riffs are based on comping, and this is where, Joe, you said accompanying a drum solo. It almost feels like that because the drums solo would be the fills. So I'm going to just change the tempo here, and here I go. I'm just going to experiment. Check this out, see if it works. Whoa. There it is. There it is. I got it. Now I got that repeated. Then something different. Okay, I just composed a blues. That's how simple I'm trying to play. I run it again. Notice how much time I'm taking. Like I'm just trying to get in the space of the... Well, you know this one. Everybody knows this one. Sonny Moon for two. Sonny Rollins. What about this? Well, no, I don't like that. As soon as you make a mistake, you have to stop. Now I got to work with this. Here we go. Oh, jeez. I didn't pay them enough. I didn't pay them enough to keep going. The rhythm section. In other words, it's basically you're playing like a big band. You know, you're just trying to find a little thing. If you played that for people, they'd be able to play it back at you. And that's a nice way to actually practice it. Notice I'm picking up blues and I'm using a blues scale. I'm not concentrating on a lot of theoretical, how do I make this bebop line? I'm just trying to find the time. All of this helps your time feel. And this is gold for if you're playing trio gigs or something. You know, sometimes you just get, like, you have no ideas. You just at a loss for what to play. Well, if you can come up with a riff while you're biding your time, in the meantime, the drummer's going crazy because he gets all this space to play. See, so that's why, you know, one hand washes the other in a band. When I play, if I play that simply, what does that mean to a good drummer? It means, oh man, this guy's giving me something. I know he's going to do this. I could fill this space a million ways. Well, that's the sound of an arrangement. I mean, some of this stuff is really basic. But you have to not be afraid to try to be simple. That's the scariest thing about this, because we get so complex because there's so much theory and oh my God. So I like these ideas of phrasing because they take you out of your habits in a way. Does anybody have any questions or?
I have a lot of questions, Mark. May I? Okay, so you have a 12-bar blues and there's one chorus. So you would. For the first chorus, you would start. You said even to odd, so maybe you start on beat 2.
Yeah,
I mean measure 2.
Measure two. Yeah.
Okay. So then
Yes.
the next chorus you would start on measure 2.
Yeah. So let me explain why we wouldn't do 2 and 4 and 6 and 8 and 10 and 12.
Okay. So in between
you don't want to do that
Okay.
because you don't have enough time to leave space. So you do a bunch of choruses with one of them, which would be say 2, 6, and 10. And you say, I'm going to just investigate. What does it feel like? You notice there's another thing. And then the next, after you've done 3 of those, try bar 4, bar 8, and 12. Or reverse them. It doesn't matter. That's the plan. Now, There's
Okay.
another, sorry, another question?
Yeah. Okay. So you're starting on beat 2.
Well, actually, in this case, I wasn't doing it, but yes, you could do that too.
I mean, measure 2.
Measure
Okay.
two, yeah.
Okay. And but we want to also oh be cautious or be aware of what you said about when you end what you end on.
Oh, yeah,
If
that,
you end on the downbeat, you want to start the
yeah.
next phrase on the upbeat. So
Don't
we have to
mix,
also be conscious
don't,
of that.
don't mix these two concepts. Don't practice them together ever. That's too crazy.
Okay.
No. That's like one exercise is start on these bars, see how it goes. Don't worry
Okay.
about any of that other bullshit. And then
Okay.
another exercise would be just clear your mind and go, can I go boo ba doo bop? And what does that mean for my next line?
Okay.
And that's a separate thing, and it's much more difficult. And if you
Okay.
want to, yeah, go ahead. Another question.
And then I guess then you would at some point have to combine those two, or no? I don't know.
No. You don't ever think about that. It's just practice them and don't think.
Okay.
When you
I get
play,
it.
just forget it all this bullshit. You know, it's like you practice it and just don't think when you're really playing because it will come out anyway. Yeah, you don't
Okay.
want to be. You'll be very contrived. Well, the phrasing thing, not so much, but this other thing with this crazy space thing, that you don't want to think about that ever when you're really playing. Just think about it for practicing, see if you can do it.
But
Now,
think about what did you say? Think about
that crazy space, odd numbers of eighth note rests,
Okay.
like the But I just wanted to point out one thing.
Okay.
Okay, regarding the phrasing from say 4 to 5 in the blues, and 8 to 9, and 12 to 1. What exactly is going on here? Is you're also practicing something else. Anybody know where I'm going with this? Okay,
changes?
I'll just, sorry?
Like the chord changes?
Yes. Elia. Yes. Is that you, Elia, that said that?
Yeah.
So your chord changes, yes. Can you be more specific?
Oh, I mean, the simplest form, you first play, on the first chord, and then you go to the 4, and then you're gonna go like on the 5. Like those are like
Yeah.
your big chords, and that's kind of
So here's okay. I yes, you're right, and I'm gonna just clarify for anybody who's maybe not hip to what he's talking about. What you're practicing is bar 4 is a chord that goes to bar 5. It's a 5 of the 4. F7 is the dominant chord in the key of B flat, and I was in B flat. When you're practicing bar 4 into 5, you're practicing the way the chord moves. Also, in bar 8, that's a D7 flat 9 chord. You're practicing the resolution to G minor. If you never cross that bar line, you never practice the most important part of D7 altered blah, blah, blah into bar 9. I'm sorry. Yeah, 9. G minor. If you play bar 12, you're practicing how does C7 go to F. You're not practicing starting on F. You're practicing C7 or G minor C if if it's a 2 foot, whatever. How do you go to F? So your phrasing. So I'm going to say it like this. This is a classic. The words mean something. Is it good to play on the changes? Yes. No. It's better to play through the changes. Through, not on. On means you're sitting on them. On means you're not practicing where they change. So if you never practice bar 2 into 3, you never practice B flat 7 going to F. And guess what? You get to do it in bar 6 to 7. So every tune is learnable from these angles of the movements of the chords. Like too often you would, most people, if they start a blues in F and they go into the 4 chord bar 2, you're always going to know how to play F7 to B flat. Sure enough. How does that move? Well, the A falls to A flat, but if you don't practice B flat 7 back to F, you never figure that out. So that's why this phrasing exercise is so cool, because it addresses some issues without talking about it. I don't even have to say it. Like, why don't you try playing through the changes instead of on them? Well, what the hell do I mean by that? This is it. I'm going to have to practice a blues in F, and I'm going to practice bar D7, bar 8 into bar 9. And this is my exercise. I turn the damn thing on. And I turn the tempo up so you don't have to wait so long. And here I go. You know, like ridiculous. Here comes D7. I mean, that doesn't happen if you don't think that you're trying to play bar 8 to 9. It just doesn't. So when you play that way, you get so much looser in your ability to leave space and surprise the listener and the rhythm section because they have no idea what you're going to do. And if I didn't tell you, the killer thing is if I didn't tell you what I was doing, you wouldn't know what I was doing. Like I'll play a solo for you now, and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking. Are you ready? Just see how this goes through. I'm going to play a blues.
And your camera's not following you anymore.
Come on,
Just-
baby.
Yeah.
Come on. Thanks.
The gesture turned it off. Okay, you're there.
Okay, check this. Oh, this is going to be hard. Probably harder for you to figure out what I'm thinking, but let me try and do it. I'm going to just, I'm going to pick a different tune. I'm going to just play something else just to get this out of our head. Oh, okay. I haven't played this fast. Let me try it. What the heck? Okay. I'm going to just speed it up a little. This is, if I pull this off, it'll be a miracle. Here I go. What was the plan? What was the plan? Anybody figure it out? If you did, I'd be like surprised. It was simple. Register. Every note line was focused on a note that was a little higher than the last one. And by the end of it, I was up here. When I got to the bridge, I was up here on the piano. It wasn't specific, but when I went like, like, I'm going up to that G flat on the, anyway, I'm like forcing myself to think, what if I just I started right below middle C and I ended up like 3 octaves higher, and none of you knew my plan. Everything you hear, the detail and the time and whatever, and I have some overarching compositional device. Now, where did I get that idea from? A Barry Harris record. And his solo is on Bean and the Boys. It's with Ron Carter and Leroy Williams. The record is called Magnificent. I transcribed the whole thing. I learned a ton from it. Magnificent. Bean and the Boys. And notice, and aside from the actual detail of the solo, which was unbelievably, I mean, bebop you into the ground was so good. I noticed this thing about the excitement level, and it was this simple thing. Every line was a little, it wasn't a plan. He didn't think of this. It just happened. But I thought, well, why can't you think of it? Why can't you think, hey, you know, if I just go up a little bit and target parts of my hand, just being a little higher, this will have an effect over time on people. It did to me, so I could plan it. So, you know, that means you have to have, the other thing about that is it takes you out of a habit because you have this other thing that's impinging itself on your line. And you sound actually pretty fresh because you're struggling to figure out how to solve the puzzle. So it again takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. You're not just playing with, I mean, you're kind of using stuff you know to do it, but man, it's like so different way of thinking. So all of this is about phrasing, shaping, and, you know, I think it's just a good thing to try and do at whatever level you're at. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, you can play a lot of really cool stuff by applying some of these principles. It's more like playing a process than here's this bebop lick. Learn this thing, you know. That's you're gonna do that anyway. So I think I'm gonna stop. If there are any other questions, feel free. Oh, and please, any questions? No? It's a long.
I have a question that obviously touches on a lot of what you talked about, but
Okay.
I think what I noticed is that I swing better. So if I just play the right hand, it swings well. If I just play, let's say like a bass line with the left, the bass line swings. But when I bring them both together, the swing is taking a hit, and I haven't really figured out a way.
Can you play for us? You think you can do this for us?
Yeah,
Even
I guess
even if we
so.
can't see you, your camera's not on, but
Yeah, let me see if I can.
let's see if we can do it because
Let me start the camera. Just one
Because
second.
I'm talking too much anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, I can try and play.
I'm just looking. I'm looking at the comments. You ask, so the differences between thinking about starting a count on the and as opposed to the beat. Yes, that's the same answer. Even goes to odd on the eighth note level. Oh, there he is. Elia. Where are you? Elia?
What?
Where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I joined late, so I don't know if there was like any sort of introduction. So I don't know where everyone else is.
Oh, well, there are people all over the place. L.A. and Sweden. And, oh, yeah. Anyway, go ahead. See if we can see if it plays because we have these sound problems. We'll stop you if it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I can just like let me know if you can hear anything if I just like play a few chords like.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see it's cutting out again. We've been through a whole thing with the sound settings. That's the problem.
Let me see if I do this. Is it better now if I do like?
Yes.
Like, is that okay? All right. So.
Everybody else should mute themselves so that his sound doesn't go back through your microphone.
Right.
Unless
yeah.
you're wearing headphones.
I can also use headphones for me so that I don't have issues. Let's see. All right. I feel a little on the spot. Like I'm not a great piano player, but
Well, just like a minute or two of messing around here. I'm just
sure. Sorry.
Yeah, that's actually hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I just like I'm also feeling like nervous for some reason.
No shit. I know what it's like. It feels good, man. Okay, so I think that's nice, and I think that one of the things that, like, it's interesting. Do you play with other people?
No, unfortunately, not a lot. And when I do, it's more like free improvise rather than like, more like traditional jazz, which I would love to do more.
So
of.
there are a couple of things going on there. Like what you got to do is, additionally to your walking, is actually not walk. So
Okay.
the comping, a la Red Garland, is a very good influence.
Yeah.
So like imagining that you're able to play without your left hand hitting every quarter note.
Okay.
Because actually that sounded pretty good to me. But I think that you have to make people feel, this is weird, as if there's a bass player and a drummer with you without, like Bill Evans plays like that all the time. And all kinds of great guys like Kenny Barron, they very rarely walk their own bass lines.
Okay.
So you want to investigate that. So get the metronome out. I mean, you could use the iReal Pro and all that's great, but I mean, for me, just being able to do this. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the left hand to generate the time and trying to think of the right hand as, well, what is it? What is it representing, the right hand? The horn, the line, a singer. All of these things have air in them. They put air into the note. So this is my image. Red Garland's comping for this guy up here. He's John Coltrane or Cannonball Adderley or Miles. Now, you see, I'm walking too. So it's a matter of maybe trying to feel how you could mix these things. So here's an exercise. See the independence. Now the other way. This is the Red Garland left hand and the right hand. Now so think of playing then comp. One of the guys that's so good at this, is Dave McKenna. Are you hip to Dave McKenna? You got to check Dave McKenna out, man. Oh my God, he's so good. He makes you think that he's got three hands because he's playing lines and he's playing bass lines and comping. And you go, well, where's this comping coming from? It's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's incredible because when you don't play a walk-in bass with your left hand, like the brain sort of like completes the image when you just comp. Like I can hear like the rest of the band in my head. But when you play a walk-in bass, like you don't really, it almost takes away from it, even though there is that element.
Yeah. And the guy who was doing this class before me, Dave Frank, he's great at walking bass lines and playing at the same time. And he even doesn't, he doesn't do it all. Like he's good at it, and yet it's something that he wouldn't always recommend. I mean, it's just interesting. And there's this thing, if you listen to the players, like they make you feel that there's a rhythm section. If you can try and do that by being really accurate. Now notice I started with the metronome, and gonna try and explain this again, because the metronome's the way I started. There were Jamie Aebersold records, but for the metronome was your beast, And the cool thing is that the goal was to make this thing swing. So the metronome is just a machine, and if I can get it to set, now how does that work? So I'm going to sit here and just do this fast. So a lot of people absolutely hate the metronome, and a lot of people from classical tradition really hate it. But so I hear this as the hi-hat of the drummer in this case. I mean, there are a lot of things you can do. So that's tempo here, 69, which means I'm thinking it's twice as fast. 1, 2, boop, ba, ba, tick, tick. Now, the first thing I'm trying to do is hear this as boo, ding, the long sound in there. Boo, tick, tick. So the cymbal's going. And then I'm trying to hear that the metronome has an inevitability. There it is. When I clapped, the metronome disappeared. That's how I know I was right. That was rushed. Now I can play a long note. I'm trying to play everything in the right place. You see how much space I'm leaving? Like I'm trying to never make an awkward rhythmic move. That's what I'm practicing. And all I'm doing is listening to the metronome. Now, what does that mean? It means if I play something and the metronome sounds off, I was wrong. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like the judgment. How do you decide whether you're playing right? So if you listen to yourself and you think it sounds right, and the metronome's wrong, you're just wrong. You're not listening to the time outside of you. And you have to, so when I did that with the metronome, that's one thing. When I take the metronome away, I want you to think that it's clicking. That if you were to clap with my space, you would be perfect. Because I'm going to make you believe it. It's a completely other, like, maniacal way of thinking about time. It's like very intense. Like, it's just like I'm going for this thing that's like so. And the way I get it is if the metronome sounds like it was clicked exactly where I thought it would, I'm good. And if it isn't, something's wrong, like something technically. And so I keep backing off and playing less until I'm more perfect. And then I keep adding in until I fall apart and back off. And it's just and that's just that could be 15 minutes of practice. You don't have to kill yourself here. But if you don't do that kind of practicing, you're you're selling yourself a little short, I think. And this creates an intensity, and people will feel it on the bandstand. It's really cool. They feel your energy, your time. And this is why this is a tricky class, because people don't talk about this stuff. So it's very inside baseball,
So Mark, you want to what you want to do is put the metronome on, and then shut it off, and then shut it on to see if you're in time. Is that how you practice?
Well, two ways. One was just I wanted to demonstrate that I could do with the metronome. I would stick with the metronome.
Okay.
And don't worry about practicing without it. Just use it. But here's another way to do it. And you could do this with, well, I'll describe how I did it about 40 years ago. This is really hard, but you can actually program your metronome. If you have like a computer metronome, you can do this. I haven't done it in years, and that don't have it set up, or your digital audio workstation. But let me just describe to you what I did before we had such technology. I got my friend's metronome, a real metronome, and I got my cassette tape recorder. And I put it on at whatever this tempo was, and I recorded it. And while I was sitting there recording it for whatever, 10 minutes, I turned the volume down on the record level for 2 beats. And then I'd put it back on for 20 beats. And then I'd turn off the record level for 5 beats. And then I'd put it back on for 40 beats. Then I'd turn it off for 2 beats and turn it on for 7 beats. Like random, is what I'm saying. And play along with this disappearing metronome. And it felt like you were cast adrift. All of a sudden, like this space would happen on the record. And I'd play along with the recording I just made instead of the metronome. And the metronome would drop out, but you knew it was still perfect. You just couldn't hear it. And so if you rushed a little because of the panic that you couldn't hear it, you'd know when it came back in, oh, geez, I'm ahead of the metronome. And so you'd make these spaces, small spaces, and then gradually make the spaces that you can't hear the metronome a little bigger, and see how long you can hang on and how good your time is by having this metronome come back. Absolutely drive you crazy doing this stuff. Yeah, easy to do on a digital audio workstation. Just make a click and put it in there every 2 beat whatever, and then take it out once in a while. So that's a good exercise. Any other questions? Anybody want to? So please do get all of the links that we have up here in the chat before we sign off, and send me an email if you want the video of this. It also might be on YouTube because I did stream. And if you have any other things, and if you want to do it again, send me a note saying yes, you'd like to do it, asking, and I'll see what I can make. Maybe we'll do it again next week if I have people who want to do it. And thank you for all being here. And sorry?
Just thank you. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad. Well,
Very much.
I hope it helped. And all the
Mark,
best.
how do we donate again?
Oh, you just send me an Interact e-transfer to my email,
okay.
which is at the very top of this chat. It's Eisenman at simpatico.ca. It should be the first thing in the chat.
If you joined late like me, then I don't see it. So
Okay,
if you don't mind just posting
I'm
it
going to
again.
post it again. Yes.
I also have more questions. I just didn't want to hog the.
Well, ask another one before we go. Here.
This one, I mean, I love talking rhythm because that's obviously like the most important thing about maybe all music. But for me, I think it's everything I transcribe, whether it's like harmonies or lines, I don't feel like it works itself into my playing. And
Yes.
and I'm sure like everyone deals with that, and I was just kind of wondering if there are ways that you maybe like ways that you analyze transcriptions or harmony to get it like into your own playing and
That's a great
improvisation.
question.
Like what you said about Tommy Flanagan, those rests,
Yes.
that you kind of looked at that and you realized, wait a minute, like he puts those rests in there, which is amazing.
It's just a way of looking at something to see. Okay, so what I would say in a nutshell is think about, I have a great example of this, and I think everybody will really dig it. If you're, like I've done a ton of transcription too, but what I do is I'll take a piece of something and see if I could work it in another way, into another place, in another context. That's a great way to make you own it. So, if you're, so let's see. Let's say you're. So that's B flat seventh, and everybody know what solo I'm playing?
Freddie Freeloader.
Freddie Freeloader, the opening line of Freddie Freeloader, yeah. Okay, so that's my line. So this is the sound of B flat seventh, F minor, but it's also part of an F minor major scale. It's also part of E7 altered. And where does that go if you go to A minor? Now I'm starting to own this line in a way that Wynton Kelly would never have used it. You get what I'm getting at here? One, the opening pickups to the most transcribed piano solo probably ever, and nobody's thought to tell you, maybe you should try seeing what this does. Wow. Wow, that's interesting. Anyway, see where I'm going with this? Like, it's endless. Here's one. Like, here's a good one. Here's the line. Check this out. Here comes the line. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Okay. That's the line. Anybody know what that's from? No. Bill Evans, what is this thing called? Love, Portrait, and Jazz. D minor, it's D. Oh, should I? There we go. That's this. So it's a fourth going up from C, an octave, and then an E triad, our upper voice, upper structure. So if you put it together, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't remember how it ends. You go, this is gold. It has everything in it, all the hip stuff. It's got the fourths. This is not McCoy Tyner, guys. That's Bill Evans. And then an E triad. So you say, well, why, what the hell? Maybe I should try this. What am I doing here? I'm playing a 2-5 in C, basically. Oh, you start on the C. So whatever key I'm in. So if I was going to play it on an F, I go. So, okay, that means I got to play G minor 7. I'm just transposing it. That's the first step. Now, what if I was to play it from, oh, let's see. Let's just try another one. Okay, so I've never done this, okay? So here I am. Okay, so fine, that's great. And I practiced one more. Okay, so now, just bear with me.
Just a note, you're off camera again.
Oh,
Not that
yeah.
it matters. We're still following your hands.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Well, so
Yeah.
much for this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, check it.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Oh, that's not right. Sorry. It's not right. Stop. Sorry. There we go. I was wrong, but I still made it work. Okay, here, I'm gonna try and get it right. Oh. I gotta try again. Starts on an upbeat after the G minor chord. And it starts on an F natural. See, I gotta get my head straight. Here we go. Now I gotta make sure I got this last note right. So I gotta go around again. Now I have to stop playing, and here I go. Here I go. Got it. Now, see, now I own it. Now it doesn't matter if somebody said, oh, you're just, I'm not playing Bill Evans shit. First of all, I transposed it to a key he probably never played it in. Secondly, I'm playing on a blues. He hardly ever played blues. So, and you sitting there in the audience, it doesn't matter where I got it. I got it. That was how many minutes I spent. Like that, I've had that transcribed for 40 years. I never practiced that on that spot. So, but now, that when you said, how do you integrate? That's the way to do it, man. That's my line now, man. I got it from Bill. I ripped it off completely. I attribute it to him, fine. But on a gig, if I pull that out, somebody's going to go, holy moly, that sounds good. You know, well, yeah, of course. It's ripped off from Bill. How bad could it be? And it's very clear. And you notice all the stuff that I'm doing around is just to get to practice that. And notice that I'm not sitting there practicing the line over. I'm in form. I want to hear how it works in the structure. So it seems like it takes too long, but actually it's better for your musical self to practice in the structure. And that's when you say, you know what, I don't even know where I got this anymore, because it's out of context from where I wrote it down. Look.
Can I ask a question?
You bet.
Maybe it's missing the point a little bit, but I'm just wondering, why do you think he put the B flat in there? Is it because he's seeing it as a like 5-1 instead of a 2-5-1?
Yeah, probably.
To have the sharp 9 or
so he's playing, so it's on the change is D minor 7 flat 5. Right? So it's like F minor, it's like F minor 6, but it could be D7 altered. Like that C, F, B flat could be an upper fourth structure of D7, sharp 9, flat 13. Just hang
Fair
on a
enough.
second. Yeah, like that's the great thing about this is trying to understand what's Bill, because Bill is very organized in his thinking. He doesn't do anything by accident, that guy. So it's a great thing, because sometimes you ask a question like that and you go, I don't know what the hell he's thinking. Sorry, I'm just oh, I can't find it. But anyway, just hold that up. There's my transcription of this. That was done like ancient history, right? I learned so much. By the way, I'm going to hold up one other thing for you. Below my fingers, whoops, you see that weird triplet notation? That's the figure we started the day with. That quarter note triplet that's over the bar line. The only way to write that is you have to write the triplets with the ties. Anyway. Okay, so I'm going to stop, but I want to just reiterate. I put in the link. Yes, DT wrote $5 donations, fine, or more if you like, or nothing. It doesn't matter. This is just something for me to do. Check this out. The link jazz piano, jazz phrasing at the very bottom of the chat, that's crucial for this stuff. So though, in a sense, it's my notes on today's class. And the really good thing is that reverse quarter-note triplet thing, the links to Like Someone in Love with Bobby Timmons on piano, that's what you want to get into to understand this figure. Okay.
Mark, do you have any other exercises with the reverse triplet thing?
No.
No printouts or anything? Okay.
No, because there's nothing. I have one that I don't have ready to go. So if I get it down on paper, I will. If you send me an email, I'll put you all in a place that I can, and then I can return the emails. And if I can put that together, I could show you that one little blues lick that I was demonstrating. But right now, I don't have that ready to go. But the point is that you really want to internalize this feeling of, I'll just do one more little thing on this, just because for the recording. Okay, check this out. So listen to this. The quarter note triplet figure, if you think of the math of it, is got two parts that go like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So what I'm doing in my mind is going ding, ding, ga ding, ding, ga ding, ding, ga ding, ding, ga ding. So I'm just clapping beat 2 and the upbeat after it, and beat 4 and the upbeat after it in a triplet feel. 1, 2, 1. Actually, I'll turn the metronome up there. 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, what I'll do is this. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Or it's better to have the beep on beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. No, that's disorienting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Well, guess what? If you can do that, you've got 2/3 of the figure learned. 1, ding, ga ding, ding, ga ding, ding, ga. One, 2, 3, da, ga, da, da, ga, da, da. Oh, I rushed. Notice how I stopped to recalibrate. 1, 2. I could start on the middle let of beat 1. McCoy Tyner on Coltrane Plays the Blues. Blues to Elvin. That's how he comps. 1, boo, dee, da, It's all over the place, this stuff. So I wanted to get that for the video. So what it should feel like is like when I'm in time in 4/4, I have to have a very strong feeling. 1, 2, whatever it is. And it just kind of flows through. Well, I want to have this other thing in my body, this thing in my body. So if I'm just feeling time, 1, 2, 3, that's there. Like as if I'm falling off like wake me out of bed and make me do that. It will happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, because it swings. 1, 2, You feel that, right? And also, guess what? It's over the bar line. It's 2 to 4. It's the same concept. It's all one thing today. Even goes to odd. 1, 2, 3, You'll never sound lame if you learn how to feel this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you listen to Philly Joe Jones, you'll hear it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that guy knocking at the door. You go, what is that? That's Philly Joe Jones doing this figure at a fast tempo. So just work on it and see, but slow. Don't worry about ever playing it fast. It's really for medium and slow tempos. Okay, that's it. I'm saying goodbye now.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Take it easy, guys. Thanks. We'll see you
Thanks,
maybe
Mark.
next week. Let
All
me
right,
know.
see you soon.
Okay, bye bye.